Hey, Stephen Fortner here with Music Player Network. Still checking out the SSL SiX compact analog desktop mixer. And you asked for it, so as you can see, I've got this thing in a partial state of apartness. And I'm going to take it into a more complete, but not fully complete state of apartness, because I want to show you the innards without Phil Wagner wanting to kill me. But hey, I do this for you. So as we can see, we've got this panel here. The first thing I want to tell you about the disassembly process is that this thing is held together with lots and lots of Allen screws, hex screws. And this panel comes off the top pretty straightforwardly. And as you can see in here, jacks are mounted with lock nuts. The XLR connectors are mounted with Allen screws, and those are mounted very securely to the chassis. Pots and buttons. Let's look at pots and buttons. These are, as you can see, surface mounted. But it is some of the best PCB surface mounting I have ever seen. There is very, very little play. There's a tiny bit if you force it, but why would you do that? There's very little play in the knob shafts. And as you can see, it's a very, very tidy layout. Okay, this comes up. I want to get it up without pulling on any of the controls. To reveal the underside there, we're going to do a video edit, and I'm going to prop this open with some tools. There's two screws that I didn't remove, which are the topmost screws underneath the side panels that's sort of hinged on right now. I didn't want to mess around with disconnecting ribbon cables and things like that, and as you can see, we've got ribbon cables in there connecting the main board to this board down here. The vertical board in the back is the output board, and over on the left there you can see what look like two big beefy capacitors, and I'm guessing not coincidentally those are located on the super analog channels 1 and 2, and certainly have something to do with their sound. So overall, I would say this thing is pretty well built for a mixer at this price point and of this size. Certainly more well built than many of the cheaper, more mass market store brands that we all know and love because they've done a lot of great work for us. But this is an SSL. Yes, it would be nice to see things like pots and buttons mounted on the chassis and connected to the circuit board with wire loops that offer you a little bit of play if you need to service something, if you need to replace a pot and pop it back in. But these parts look mounted in such a way, and I am not a hardware guy. You don't want to see me with a soldering iron. It is not pretty. But these look like they are mounted in such a way where it's pretty straightforward and pretty clean to, in the event one would ever need replacement, get one off and another in there. These little screw shafts here hold the top control panel on, or I should say rather the top silkscreening panel that has the labels for the controls. And so there's no, unless you were to really, drop this thing upside down onto a hard surface, like if you were to give it a good whack, right, such that the tops of the knobs took the brunt of the force, then yeah, I'm guessing you could damage the pots or the buttons or the main board. But in any other way that you might put pressure on this, if it were, I would say, casually dropped in a carrying situation, it's designed so that everything presses on everything else and takes stress and force away from the controls. And as you can see here, the metal is reasonably thick and pretty well-built little mixer. Okay, well that is inside the SSL SiX. Now I'm going to get this thing back together so that when SSL watches the next video, they will realize that no harm whatever came to it. And I'm going to look at a picture of the thing to remember what color knobs to put where.